Okay, I think you probably have watched the first video that I made, my first training video for Jack. So I will move on to the second video now. I hope the first one was easy to understand and you have a better idea of how to help Jack with his daily living skills. This video is just very simple ways to increase appropriate behaviors and decrease inappropriate behaviors. Again, like I said in the first video, there is a lot more to train on than just these videos. I have tons of extensive training that I can do for you if you are interested, and feel free to reach out to me and we can meet up to continue your training. These are just kind of a good general training for anyone working with Jack. So this, you should have the slides that say stop doing that, ways to increase appropriate behaviors and decrease inappropriate behaviors. Again, these are going to say things like your son or daughter or child, because a lot of these are used for parents. So just pretend I'm saying Jack if I accidentally say son or daughter or child. All right, so Jack engages in hundreds of different behaviors every day. We all do. Many of these behaviors are appropriate. Some are inappropriate, but all of them serve a function. All of them serve a purpose for Jack. Let's talk a little bit about reinforcement. Reinforcement is the foundation of ABA therapy. So it's the foundation of what I do for a living. It's the most important way, the easiest and most effective way to change behavior. So if a behavior continues to occur, it is serving some type of purpose. So purpose equals function. It's serving some type of function. In addition, it is being or was being reinforced either positively or negatively. Now, we'll briefly touch on positive and negative reinforcement. There's a whole training just on reinforcement that I will likely try to send to Amanda sometime in the next couple of weeks, because I think it could be very helpful. But I'll just briefly touch on it now. So positive reinforcement is getting something pleasant or reinforcing added. Positive refers to plus. Adding something does not refer to something good necessarily. Now, reinforcement is generally a good thing, but that's not what positive reinforcement refers to. So some examples of positive reinforcement are Jack. You say, hey, Jack, turn off the television. And he goes and turns it off. And you say, oh my gosh, Jack, thanks for turning it off. And you give him a Skittle. Okay. That's an example of positive reinforcement. He does something you would like. You give him something. You give him a thing that he likes as well. That is a very effective tool for Jack. As I'm sure you're aware, Jack loves to eat. So he is quite reinforced by the addition by positive reinforcement. Okay. So negative reinforcement or escape is getting something unpleasant removed or aversive removed. So negative refers to minus, which is taking something away. It does not refer to something bad. Negative reinforcement is not the same thing as punishment. So a good example of negative reinforcement is if you get in your car and your car is making that horrible beeping sound that it does when you start it, and the only way to get that to stop is by plugging in your seatbelt, you are plugging in your seatbelt to stop that annoying beeping sound. So you're engaging in negative reinforcement. You're doing something to escape the aversive stimuli, right? So you're plugging in your seatbelt to stop the sound. We can use negative reinforcement in a lot of different ways. Jack likes to take breaks from activities, from chores. And so over the years in ABA, we've really started using breaks as a negative reinforcement tool to encourage the increase in behavior. So, for instance, if Jack is doing laundry, and he does all of the steps, of loading the dishwasher, or not, sorry, loading the laundry machine, the washing machine. Geez, my brain. It would be a great time at that point to be like, hey, Jack, you know what? you earned a break. You should just go take a break and chill for a little bit. And he loves that. He loves taking breaks. He loves to just kind of go lay on the couch or walk around for a little bit. So using that as negative reinforcement to kind of take a break from a task that isn't his favorite is very appropriate and okay to do. So there are lots of different functions of behavior. One is gaining access to something tangible. So toys, food, TV, which I know is a huge one for Jack. Gaining access to something social, attention, approval. So, whenever you see Jack like point to a Buzz Lightyear picture and stick his arm up in the air and he's wanting you to say, to infinity and beyond. Well, that is his way of engaging you in social activity. That's his way of engaging you. That's what he likes. That's what he likes to talk about. He loves to talk about Buzz Lightyear and Toy Story. So he's engaging you in social attention at that time. You're reinforcing that, which is okay. That's great. Escaping something aversive. So demands, loud noises, a person or a situation, or self-stimulatory or stimming. So this is automatically reinforced. The behavior itself is reinforcement. So I know that you have seen Jack, engage in that like vocal stimulation where he's kind of like making some vocal noises. He might be pulling his arm inside of his sleeve or, moving his hands or pacing back and forth. All of those are examples of self-stimulatory behavior. Those are all automatically reinforcing. He's not trying to get reinforcement from you or from anything else. It's all happening inside of his own body. So this training will focus on how to determine if the function of a problem or what the function of the problem behavior is, simple ways to decrease these problem behaviors, and using reinforcement to increase the appropriate behaviors. So some ways to determine whether attention is the function of a problem behavior. You want to look for a few key indicators. If Jack is looking at you while he's engaging in the behavior or right after, giggling or smiling while engaging in the behavior, or consistently doing the behavior while you are attending to something or someone else, or engaging in the behavior that cause others to come to him. So an example, and I don't know if he's doing this like in the group home environment, but when he's doing therapy with Angelica or Alex or myself, sometimes he will they'll say, okay, Jack, write your name. And he'll go to write a letter and he'll write it wrong. Well, he thinks it's hilarious and he'll laugh and he'll do his hands. He's trying to get attention for doing this behavior because he thinks it's funny. So if you notice that kind of thing where you tell him to do something and he refuses or does something else or acts like he can't do it, and then he kind of laughs at you or makes a funny face, he's probably trying to get attention for the behavior. So some examples, running away while looking back and smiling. If you're like, Jack, let's go outside, and he runs up the stairs and he's looking at you. I've seen him do it. That's trying to get attention. Yelling from another room, hitting a sibling when parents are busy with something else, repeatedly engaging in a behavior after being told several times to not do so. As they say, even bad attention is good. So reprimands, threats, which I hope you're not doing, are all forms of attention. So bad attention is good attention sometimes, if that makes sense. So if you're like, Jack, don't do that to him, you're giving him attention. You're really giving him what he wants. Once you have determined the function of a behavior or set of behaviors is attention, there are a few simple changes you can make to decrease those behaviors. So a few simple things that you can do kind of in the way that you handle the behaviors that will decrease them. So some antecedent measures. So antecedent is something that happens before the behavior. So the best way to stop a problem behavior from occurring is to modify the environment slightly so that it doesn't occur at all. So that's one of the things that we have kind of done in the home environment and tweaked as Jack has gotten used to living in the group home, is reduce and change the TV watching. Because Jack will become kind of obsessed with the television. It can create some behavior. So we have limited the amount of time. We have limited the days, times of the day, the length of time, and what he's able to watch, to kind of modify the environment so that he is not as likely to engage in the behavior. One thing that mom has done is, had the plug removed when it's bedtime, so that if he does wake up in the middle of the night, he is not able to come out and watch TV. So that right there is an antecedent measure that you can use to modify the environment so that he is not being reinforced for the behavior of watching TV when he's not supposed to. So these changes are made before the behavior occurs, and they're usually very minor, but can produce great results. So you want to make sure that you're reinforcing Jack for his good behaviors throughout the day. So if humans' appropriate behaviors are reinforced, then there isn't such a need to engage in inappropriate behaviors to gain your attention. So what that means is, interact with Jack. Jack is a social person. He likes to be talked to. He likes, even though he can't always respond, he likes to engage in conversation. He will try to engage in conversation in his own way. And if he is not engaging with others, that can really spike his behavior because he's looking for some attention from others. So just make sure that you're talking with Jack all the time. Ask him for help with things. Show him what you're doing. Just talk to him. He wants to communicate just as much as anyone else. He also does know some simple sign. It would be a good idea to, I will probably have Angelica make a video of his sign language. She's more familiar with it than I am. And that way you're able to use sign language to communicate with Jack. I think that would probably be quite helpful. So I will try to get her to do that and then send that to Amanda so you can have it. But communicating with Jack, keeping him engaged throughout the day. And when he does something appropriate, giving him tangible reinforcement. So a cracker, a cookie, or a small tangible reinforcement. You don't want to go overboard, but giving him something small like, hey, I really like the way that you put your shoes up when I asked, or, hey man, you did a great job brushing your teeth. Like, awesome, good job. Something like that. He's very familiar with the contingency of reinforcement. He's very familiar with doing something positive and getting a reinforcement in return. So that would probably help him to reduce his need for attention. So if a client's greatest reinforcement is attention from you, make sure to give it regularly, every few minutes if you can, but certainly every 10 minutes or so. We don't want Jack just kind of walking around aimlessly. We want him engaged as much as possible. This lessens engaging in problem behavior in order to gain access to social reinforcers. So a simple, I like how you're listening, or great job, Jack, or thank you so much for waiting. Or, hey, man, I love the way you put your dish in the sink. Just talking to him will go a long way in reducing his need for attention reinforcement. So this is so important. That's why it says it in bold letters on your training form. Do not underestimate the power of your attention to affect behavior. Humans are social beings. We all want attention from others. Both inappropriate and appropriate. So for most of the children and humans, adults, attention is a powerful reinforcer, and providing even a small amount for problem behaviors can result in a big increase of those behaviors. So what that means simply is if Jack does something inappropriate and you're like, no, Jack, don't do that. No, we don't do that in this house. You are actually giving him attention that he was seeking. So what's important is that you're saving your best, your attention for him doing something appropriate, not for him doing something inappropriate. Now, that doesn't mean that you should just allow him to do whatever he wants. You obviously need to stop him if he's engaging in inappropriate behavior. But what I would suggest is stopping him from the inappropriate behavior, but without giving him a lot of attention for it. That can seem counterintuitive, but Jack loves attention. So if you're giving him attention for doing something inappropriate, you're increasing the likelihood that he will continue doing the inappropriate thing. So I would recommend stopping what he's doing, blocking him from engaging in the inappropriate activity, but not giving him attention for it. So some consequence measures for attention-seeking behavior is extinction, which means very simply removing the reinforcer, which in this case would be attention-seeking behavior or attention. So what was there before was still after. So an example here is I have no toys, I hit you, I still have no toys. Or I want to watch TV and you tell me no, I get in your face and I still don't get to watch TV, right? So it's very important that if you say no, no means no, and he does not get to intimidate you or act helpless or be sweet and get the thing he wants. This intervention works very well, but only if done consistently. So everyone watching this training needs to make sure that they're following through whenever they say something to Jack, whether it's do this or no, you cannot do that, right? It decreases behavior at a slower rate than other interventions, so patience is required. Rome wasn't built in a day, and behaviors won't change in a day either. So attention extinction is something called planned ignoring, which just simply means you do not provide attention to problem behavior. This means no eye contact. Do not look at him. Do not physically move toward him. Do not say anything to him. Do not say anything about him to anyone else when he's engaging in the problem behavior. This includes no sighing, no eye rolling, any acknowledgement of being frustrated whatsoever. So in order to change behavior, in order to stop problem behavior, you have to have replacement behaviors. It's important to remember that all behavior serves a function. So if his problem behavior serves a function, we have to give him a replacement behavior that serves the same function, okay? So anytime a disruptive behavior is placed on extinction, there should be an appropriate behavior put in place of the problem behavior. So remember that all behaviors have a function. So when using extinction, you want to offer a replacement. If Jack is engaging in disruptive behavior to gain access to attention, provide him with another way to gain access to that reinforcer. So if Jack is crying or yelling or messing with things in the house to gain your attention, teach him some other type of communication to do so instead. So Jack knows how to communicate, but sometimes he can get frustrated at lack of communication. So he'll engage in very loud vocal stimulatory behavior or, run away from you because he thinks that's funny. So teaching him using his sign language to communicate or engaging in communication with him is a great replacement behavior. Remember, attention is your friend. So you want to use your attention wisely. You want to focus on the good over the bad and show Jack that you want to be interacting with him when he's behaving appropriately. Jack, I think, mostly behaves appropriately, so this should be pretty easy for you. So, determining whether escape is the function of a problem behavior. To determine whether a behavior is occurring to gain escape, you want to look for a few key indicators. The behavior always occurs after a demand is placed. So if you're like, hey, Jack, come brush your teeth, and he runs to his room and shuts his door, that's probably an escape maintained behavior. So he's like, I don't want to brush my teeth, so I'm going to run away. Crying, whining, and yelling can go along with performing a task. This behavior can always occur during a situation that they consider aversive. So loud noises, lots of lights, offensive smells, things like that. Some examples: throwing items when instructed to do something with them, crying when told to take a bath, changing the subject to another topic when given an instruction, engaging in problem behavior in a crowded restaurant. Escape can be tricky. Jack may be legitimately upset by having to perform a task, And because he's an adult, it can be really difficult we don't want to ever force him to complete a task. However, allowing escape from that task because of problem behavior sets up a really bad cycle, especially for someone like Jack, who's very familiar with the reinforcement and escape contingency. Like, if he understands ABA. He really truly does. He's been doing it his entire life. So he knows if he's like runs to his room when it's time to brush his teeth and you let him, that chances are the next time he doesn't want to do it, he has to make sure he's engaging in problem behavior because it works. Also, if he tries to escape brushing his teeth, which you can't let him escape brushing because he has to brush his teeth, right? If you like, no, man, we got to brush your teeth. Come on, we're going to do this. And then you can take a break. Or, this is something that we do every day, Jack. You bring him in, you prompt him, using that behavior chain that we talked about in the last training to continue, to complete brushing his teeth. And then you give him a reinforcement. Let him do something that he would like to do, which shows him like, look, no, dude, you gotta brush your teeth. I'm using brushing teeth as an example. This can be anything. This is what we do. But afterwards, because you did such a great job, you get to do this fun thing. Jack's very familiar with that contingency. We use it all the time. It works for Jack. So make sure that whenever you're doing something that isn't his favorite thing, that you give him something after, that he's getting reinforcement for engaging in the task appropriately without problem behaviors. And also make sure that if you're asking him to do something that he is part of his daily living routine, that you don't allow him to use escape maintained behaviors to not do the task. So you want to allow escape on your terms in exchange for appropriate behavior. So what that means is there are some things that Jack doesn't particularly like to do, and one of them is doing laundry. We talked about this a little bit, and this is whenever we were talking about negative reinforcement. So whenever Jack is doing the laundry, it's not his favorite thing. So it's okay to build in breaks into your laundry routine. So if he's really not feeling the laundry today, that's fine. Have him do a couple parts of the laundry. So, maybe loading the washing machine, putting in the soap, and then allow him to take a few minute break and then say, all right, Jack, let's come back and finish, starting the washer. And then you can take another break. That's appropriate. That's allowing him to kind of dictate his world, which is great, but doing it on your terms and making sure that he's completing the task at hand. You also want to check the task. Is it too hard? Is it too boring? Is it too long? Most of his tasks are broken down into smaller pieces, so he's able to take breaks in between them if he needs them. Some consequence measures. Extinction for escape maintained behavior is similar to the attention. So what was there before is still there after. So an example, I have to do the laundry. I hit you. I still have to do the laundry. So what we don't want to do is, like, let's say we're having Jack do the laundry and he really wants to watch TV. So he hits you in the arm and he gets you don't want him to finish doing the laundry because you're upset. And so you let him get away with not doing it. That is not how it should go ever. If Jack hit me while I was doing the laundry, I wouldn't say a word. I would just keep having him finish his laundry task. He's looking for escape. He's looking for attention. Don't give him either of those things. Again, this intervention works very well, but only if it's done consistently. It decreases behavior at a slower rate than other interventions, so patience is required. So this means escape extinction means no removal of the task. You can take a small break if and only if you put the laundry in the washing machine, right? Then you can take a break, Jack, because it's on your terms. He can complete something for you. You always want to finish the original task. That's very, very important. You don't say, okay, Jack, I know you don't want to do laundry, but so after you put the laundry in the machine, you can be done. Nope, you can take a break, but you have to come back and finish doing the laundry. This is so that Jack learns that problem behavior is not the correct way to stop a task. So if Jack is engaging in disruptive behaviors to gain access to escape, provide him with another way to gain access to the reinforcer. So providing him with a break card that he can hand you, or him saying stop. All of those are effective ways to let you know that he needs a break, and it's okay to give him a break in those moments. If he's effectively communicating with you that he needs a break, that's okay. But again, remember that you're always bringing him back to the task to finish it. Okay, so this one is a big one for Jack because this is determining whether access to an item or activity is the function of problem behavior. So as we all know, Jack loves the TV, he loves technology. So this is something that can get Jack to engage in problem behavior because he wants access to the TV. So if the behavior always occurs when the access to the item or TV item or activity is denied, the TV, crying, whining, yelling in general go along with the item or activity being taken away, stopped, or the behavior often occurs when the activity is interrupted. Some examples: having a tantrum when the TV is taken away or a toy is taken away, or iPad is taken away. Engaging in problem behavior when told that he can't go for a ride in the car or watch Finding Nemo. Tantruming when interrupted doing the preferred activity. So if Jack's usually able to watch an entire movie, but then something happens and he starts to get upset. Access to items can be tricky because it may appear to be escape from a demand when it's actually an issue of being interrupted. It's not so tricky with Jack. I feel like we kind of are able to understand when he is upset about not being able to watch TV. So it's important to give warnings when a time or activity is almost finished. This is very effective for Jack. He has been given warnings his entire life. Okay, Jack, we have about 5 more minutes and we're going to turn off the TV. All right, Jack, 2 more minutes. We're almost done. He responds quite well to that. Oftentimes that is enough to just enough of an antecedent preventative measure to stop the behavior before it even occurs. You want to try not to interrupt play if possible, or try not to interrupt what he's watching if possible, but that's not always possible. Timers are wonderful and magical devices. Use them. So what using a timer can do is kind of put the end of the activity on the timer instead of you. So what that means is instead of you saying, all right, Jack, it's time to turn it off, you just say, okay, Jack, I'm going to set the timer. When the timer goes off, we're turning off the TV. Then it's kind of like the timer's fault that the TV has to go off. This can be a great way to reduce behavior. So you want to give a 1 minute, 2 minute heads up, set the timer, and when the timer goes off, you consistently stop the activity. Extinction, removing the reinforcer of a tangible problem behavior. So again, what was there before is still there after. An example is time on the swing is over. I hit you, time on the swing is still over. It's simple, folks. Like if you say the TV watching is done, it doesn't matter what he does. He doesn't get to continue watching TV, right? This intervention works very well, but only if it's done consistently. And like you've heard before, it does increase or decrease behavior at a slower rate than other interventions, so patience is required. So tangible extinction is not allowing the access to an item or activity. This means no giving the item or activity back. Do not do it. And this is important so that Jack understands that problem behavior is not the correct way to gain access to something. So some replacement behaviors, if Jack is engaging in disruptive behavior to gain access to the TV or another item or activity, you want to provide with another way to give access to the reinforcer. So if Jack is tantruming to gain access to the TV, teach him some sort of communication instead. This can reduce many problem behaviors to 0 rates. You can give him a small task to do to gain access to the item or activity again. A first then statement. First, we're going to do the laundry. Then you can watch 5 minutes of TV can be a way to help decrease problem behavior. If you're using functional communication to increase decrease problem behavior, you do want to make sure that when you're allowing him to watch the television, you're not allowing him to then watch it for an hour. We're talking very short bursts. So if you're saying, okay, buddy, we're going to go do laundry, and he doesn't want to do laundry, then you say, and you kind of are using the TV in that instance, we're talking 4 or 5 minutes tops. You set a timer, you turn on the TV for that time, and then it gets turned off. Yeah. So when determining whether automatic reinforcement is the function of a problem behavior, you're looking at this. Will the behavior occur at any time in all situations with anyone? Will it occur if Jack is left alone and often follows a ritual or a routine? So ripping up paper, throwing to see if it will fall. Pacing back and forth, flapping hands, and making vocalizations. That's a Jack behavior. Mouthing objects, so putting stuff in his mouth. Repeating lines from movies, TV, YouTube videos. He doesn't quite do that. So if you're interested in stopping his self-stimulatory behaviors, automatically reinforced behavior, you're wanting to find other items that serve the same purpose of the self-stimulatory behavior. So other toys that imitate sounds, toys that use lights, have these items readily available so that he has constant access. Extinction isn't a possibility with automatically reinforced behaviors. We can't remove it because it's automatically provided in his own body and brain. So if you're concerned about the self-stimulatory behaviors, you can block the child or the client from performing the behavior, interrupt and redirect. This is not something that I encourage you to do on your own. Myself, Mom, Amanda, somebody will let you know if there's a behavior that we would like for you to work on stopping. But for now, his self-stimulatory behaviors that he's engaging in are okay. They're not hurting anybody. So they are just kind of a part of Jack. So I do not encourage you to block him from engaging in some of his self-stimulatory behaviors. If he's being very loud, you can ask him to please keep his voice quiet and then give him something else to do. Have him read a book with you, do something else that will stop the behavior from occurring. Because I know sometimes Jack's vocal stimulatory behaviors can be quite loud, which can be disruptive to the rest of the house. So I would at that point encourage you to just say, hey, Jack, let's be done with that and do something else together. Oftentimes that is enough to kind of decrease the self-stimulatory behaviors. So if a client is engaging in a self-stimulatory behavior to gain automatic reinforcement, provide them with another way to gain access to that reinforcer. So remember, I hope this training was helpful in finding the function of behavior that he might be engaging in. From there, you want to use the different antecedent and consequence measures to reduce problem behavior and pick an appropriate replacement behavior to put in his place. There is a plethora of resources out there for you with Jack in particular. His mom is amazing and knows everything there is to know about him, his problem behaviors, and what to do in them. You can always reach out to me as well. Amanda has my contact information, and also his behavior staff that are in the home. Alex and Angelica are also quite well versed in all things Jack related, probably more so than me. So they are amazing and can help you with any problem behaviors that you're having. I hope that this was helpful. Again, feel free to reach out if you are looking for more for further trainings from me. I am happy to comply. All right, guys, thanks for working with Jack. Bye.